Hey everyone, welcome back to the Workbench. For what's on my Workbench, I'm still working on this. This is Atari Jaguar. Right today, I just have a few caps left to do. I'll probably do those off screen, but tonight I wanted to throw on at least the main boost and buck converter on here. It's this little chip. Well, that's the spot on the board. And that's going to be the replacement for it. It came on this little tape and reel, which is pretty typical packaging. So full ESD protection because you don't want to fry anything. So I got the strap on and using ESD safe pliers. Tweezers, I should say. Make sure this is nice and centered up. I'm actually using my recording setup here so I can see what I'm doing. Discovered that working on surface mount is a task for the young to do, not in machines. Getting a little hard for me. Not that I loved it in the first place. It's a little touchy there. Oh, okay. This is exciting watching, isn't it? Alright, let's see if I can tack one corner down. Still not straight. Oh. Let's see what we can do here. Why does it look crooked? Because it is crooked. That looks pretty good. A little bit of an optical illusion because it's a two-dimensional surface going on here. Hopefully his tip is small enough. It probably isn't. Try it anyway. Yeah, I need a finer tip. Shoot. Okay, I'm gonna pause this. Back in a couple minutes. Okay, we're back here with a new solder tip. I want to go make my preview bigger so I can see what the heck I'm doing here. See if we can get some solder action going on here. It's not what I wanted. Okay. Not as pretty as a machine, but it should hold up just fine. I'll probably have to switch to my stereo microscope in a minute and make it a little easier for me. Yeah, I'll do that. As neat as it is to show you how this looks, it's actually much easier to do under the stereoscope. There we go. Alright. A little ugly, but workable. Okay, let's see what we can do here. I apologize because it's really hard to do this with an electronic scope. It's much easier to do it with a actual stereoscope, as you get some depth perception. Okay. Oh, it just keeps turning on me. Not what I want. Alright, let's see if we tack the ends on. Yeah, it's just very hard to do if you're using an electronic scope. You gotta use your actual eyes to see what you're doing. Wow, this is challenging. Okay. And I use really fine gauge solder too, and it's still hard to do. Where am I, Dave? Getting in my own way here. Old-fashioned ways use my eyes. Okay. I'm going to pause this for now because it's taking a bit of concentration to do. So I'll be back a little bit. Hey everyone, this is a jump, I know, but I did go ahead and still working on the Jaguar here. I did end up replacing the boost buck converter and the 5-volt regulator on the circuit. So for giggles, I actually did power up the Jaguar, at least the LEDs coming on now. So I did get that, at least that gross power circuit's working now. So that's a good sign. So for now, I'm just going to go through and keep on replacing capacitors. Turns out I was wrong. I thought they named the same capacitor twice. I was wrong. It was actually C22, not 24. Anyway, so I'm going through it now, and just going through cap by cap here, replacing them all. So this is very exciting. So you can listen to me talk a while here if you like. Now that this is just kind of, I wouldn't call it mindless, but you have to have a certain amount of zen while you're doing it, just relaxing and replacing components. So that was C34. C34. 1050 volts. Okay. I'm just writing the components down as I go through. Make sure there's no higher quality ones in here. That's 47. One. 10, another 10 microfarad. It's actually been really pretty relaxing working on the Jaguar in terms of systems. It's American made, which makes it unique. Designed and manufactured in the USA, which is kind of cool in its own way. Considering so many things are made in China, even back in the 80s and 90s, everything was already being moved to Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China, mainland China. So it's actually kind of nice working on some American electronics. I have an Alpha Smart Dana Wireless, which actually is kind of cool. Before the advent of iPads and Chromebooks, they used these nice little keyboard-based, palm-based keyboard computing device, which is actually kind of neat because it's a also made in the United States, which is kind of cool. I thought all Palm products were made overseas, but apparently Alpha Smart made it in the US. It was good to know. Alright, where's C18? C42 I did already. C18, where are you? Okay. These guys I all got 34, 43. So now I'm coming along this row here and hitting these capacitors. So not too many left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 left. Okay, C18 comes out next. C18. Using a regular solder sucker for this one. This is a, here's the 1 microfarads. So I powered up the system just to see if it was working, as I knew the remaining caps were mostly for the audio video circuit, so not much chance of blowing anything up there. Not impossible, but a lot less likely. 1 microfarad. Clean that out. Grab the old solder sucker. I'm not using this one much tonight. Not really need it. Let's do traditional. This one's, I wouldn't say it takes more finesse, but you just, I think it does a little bit, that hard draw does a little bit better of a job. 1 microfarad 50. 1 microfarad 50 plus minus. Alright. So I did get those IC chips in, so unfortunately I do all that under the microscope, the actual stereo microscope, so it was just too darn hard with a two-dimensional or looking at a screen. So that was just easier that way. So got all of those done. Alright, there's that one. So this guy and that guy, are they both ones? This is a, where's your marking, buddy? 1 and 1. So I'll go through and replace both of those at the same time. It's C17 and C14 are both 1 microfarad. Oh, it's my microphone. I did get something very interesting in the mail. I was this Tiger learning computer is based on licensed Apple IIe technology, licensed from Apple before Steve Jobs came back and ended all the licensing programs. And it's an interesting beast, and trying to find a way to get the information off of the ROM carts they have. I have a few ideas, but that's going to be a ways in the future because I got to figure it out. Though I work with a couple embedded hardware guys at work, so they're they might be able to lend me a hand on that one. One. Into the scrap bin you go. So yeah, that should be interesting. They used what's really bizarre is this Tiger computer was designed in what was it, 95, 96, and it was only released into 4 test markets in the United States, and then Apple pulled the plug on licensing their hardware. But this is an Apple II, so technically the technology was already 20 years old when they licensed it. So when you first show it, it's gonna be weeks from now, unfortunately, because I have a bunch of other things to catch up on first. But it's kind of fascinating because you boot it up and it's your classic like a Lisa OS or a Geos, where there was also I forget what it was called for the Apple II. It was a GUI for it, and it's like, wow, this was 1995, 1996. I mean, Pentium 2 was already way out by then, and this thing's based on a 6502. 6502 is like a 1.0 something megahertz 8-bit processor, so very low powered machine. I mean, even for the time, it was already 20 years out of date. So Tiger being Tiger does some strange stuff, man, or did some strange stuff. I think they're part of Hasbro now, but it looks like it was made like as a competitor to the VTech kids learning computers. It's really wild because it doesn't actually have a screen. It looks like a laptop, but it doesn't have a screen or a battery. So you plug it in like it's like a miniature desktop, and it has a composite out. And that's it. That is really weird. It takes a PS2 mouse of all things. Oh, Jaguar. Plunking away. So that was, okay, I don't think I wrote this one down. This is C what? C8, no I didn't write it down. C8, C45, C7, C11. C8, C45, C7, C11. Okay. Yeah, that's the 4 left. So we're on the home stretch here. We only got 4 left. So what I'm going to do later is I'm going to tie into the composite line here first, and then I'm going to tie into the Luma and Chroma. And I have a little HDMI converter, which I need to figure out. Probably going to end up mounting it under here somewhere. Probably just off here. It's actually a pretty tight design inside this Jaguar case, but I'll have a HDMI converter. I'll do the S-video to HDMI conversion, and that was the request to do that, so I am going to do that later. So that should be cool. Have HDMI out on a Jaguar. I was tempted to do RGB to HDMI out, but I'm sure the Jaguar could, the S-video will be a little bit softer in the conversion, so it'll look a little better. Sometimes a little less accurate's better for when you convert from HDMI. As much as you really love to have that crystal clear, honestly, some stuff looks better with a little bit of bloom, a little bit of softening going on there. Because you don't want to go hard edged, because the graphics weren't designed to be that hard edged. I know even when I do emulation, I go ahead and 16 months. I go ahead and turn on scan lines, and sometimes I add some blurring as well. Let's see, 116 months. There we go, 116. Yeah, so you don't always want the super crisp image. It's just gonna look poorly when you're in the real world. You're trying to get some sort of, in terms of playability. I don't usually work on the component side, but this one doesn't want to come out. I had a soldering iron stop regulating on me. It's set to go to 650, not this iron, but another iron. It's set to go to 650F. Darn thing won't warm up. I don't know what's going on there. So sometimes you gotta go with the flow. Oh, speaking of flow, where will this go? If you ever hear a weird little voice in the background, that's just my son playing, I think Sea of Thieves or Portal or something. I don't know what he's playing right now. So, not to worry. 116. Let's see if we can clean that out. This is where you'll need more heat, because that was on the ground line. Hey, boy, that solder sucker works. It's a godsend sometimes. I love this traditional style. It's really old school, but it works very well. Plus. Yep. Cleaned one hole out, didn't clean out the other. Two holes there, son. There we go. Okay, coming along. I like this thinner solder. Some people go even thinner on it. I might end up having to go a little thinner just because I seem to be doing a lot more surface mount work lately. But I forget what diameter this one is. I prefer tin lead solder. The earth is not going to survive if I use a little lead. What am I using here? 6040 tin lead. 0.6 millimeter. That's what I like. Thinner stuff. The problem with the lead-free solder, you get two problems. It's hard to get a good fillet, as it doesn't always flow as well. And if you have close components, you risk getting tin whiskers, particularly on boards that were never designed for RoHS or lead-free solder. The separation between the conductors is too small, and you get what's known as dendritic growth. And that'll cause a short eventually, particularly in the humid environment. You'll get dendritic growth. Alright, so next up, C7. C7, what are you? C7 is another one of the 116s. 3 left, folks. 3 left. Step right up. Reminds me of a game I used to play, Blood, on DOS. That was a fun one. It's one of the first games I played online. That is amazing sometimes how far everything's come. My first computer was an Atari. Well, technically it was a VIC-20, but it didn't work. I returned to the store. I bought it at Kmart, I believe. But after that, we had an Atari 800 XL, which is a bitchin' little computer. Still one of my favorites. The Atari had the huge advantage of the disk drive, because there's a little piece of computing history. The Atari 8-bit line had high-speed addressable serial drives. Now, if that sounds familiar, to have an externally you could daisy chain, I think 16 or 32 of them together, and they all self-addressed automatically. Now, that sounds really familiar. There's a reason. There's a gentleman who worked for Atari at the time also went on to develop USB. So back in the late 70s, early 80s, Atari computers basically had 8 bits, had USB drives, which is kind of crazy to think. The underlying technology is very similar, and it gave a huge speed advantage compared to Commodore at the time. Commodore had the terribly slow drives. The Atari probably had 10 times faster, I would say, somewhere in there. It was crazy, the difference between it, because the Commodore people that all did these software fast loaders and all sorts of crazy wild stuff. Didn't need to do that with the Atari. The Atari was natively very quick. I mean, you can copy a whole drive in about 2 minutes. And they were 128K floppies, if I remember correctly. So yeah, that was my first computer, was a Atari 8-bit 800 XL, 64K RAM. And then we had a Tandy 47 microfarad. I forget what model number that one was. It was from Radio Shack, of course, because that's where Tandy's were made. C45, 47 microfarad, 35 volts. So that was a neat one. That was I believe it was a odd duck. It was a 186, which was usually used for embedded systems, but Tandy used them for a desktop system. It had a really ahead of its time GUI at the time. It was kind of cool. 4716. So that was kind of cool. Played some really kind of fun games on that one. Then we had, where did I go next after that one? Maybe, was it a think I had a 386 for a while. That was a Gateway 2000. And then I had an Acer laptop. It was a 46 DX4. Then I had what was it? A Cyrix. That was it. It was a power spec from Micro Center. Cyrix 200 megahertz. That thing lagged like crazy online though, unless you had an actual hardware modem, not a software modem. And then I had I think my next jump after that was also a power spec. It was a P333, I think. And then I made was that a P3? That probably was a P3. And then I had a 800 megahertz Intel, and I switched over to AMD as an Athlon. What was it? 1.2 gigahertz, if I remember right. I'm not sure. What are you? 10. Sure hope you're 10 and running out of parts. Yeah. So that was a switch to Athlon then. Yeah, it was a 333. Then I had the K62 450 in there. Then I jumped back to. Then I had like an 800 megahertz Intel. Then it was a 1.2 gigahertz AMD Athlon. Then what was after that? Then I had like a 22. They changed their naming, and it was like a 2200. And then, golly, there was one after that. That's my last computer. I can't remember what it was. And then I got my current machine, which is a Ryzen 7 1700. Just actually really. I enjoy that computer a lot. It's very reliable, built it myself. No problems at all with it, actually. Got it running Ubuntu. Wait till the 20.1 before I upgrade that one. Oh, I forgot to say, I've been running Linux on my home computer since 99, I think. Yeah, it's been over 20 years. I don't have anything running Windows other than my work computer. Speaking of that, starting Monday, I am officially back in work. Back into work instead of working at home, which I've been doing for close to 3 months now. Luckily, the cases are going on a downward trend here. Not upward, but we'll see how long that happens. Alright, recapped it. It's all done. Yay! So next up is going to be adding, I might add a temporary composite out just to see what it looks like, and then I'll make sure that works, and then I will jump into adding the HDMI. It's probably going to be it for tonight, or maybe I'll try a little bit. It's a little bit after 9 already. But yeah, I think I'll cut this off for tonight and make tomorrow's What's on Your Workbench, adding the composite and the HDMI. So everyone, thank you for watching.